The night was thick with smoke and fear in London. September 2nd, 1666. The summer had been long and dry, the city's wooden houses baking beneath a relentless sun. In the narrow lanes of Pudding Lane, at the bakery of Thomas Fariner, a spark escaped from an oven and found kindling among stacks of firewood. At first it was just a glow, a flicker in the dark, but the wind off the Thames turned that flicker into fury. Within an hour, the flames had leapt across rooftops, devouring everything in their path. The great fire of London had begun. By dawn, panic spread faster than the fire itself. The bells of St. Magnus the Martyr rang in alarm, their echoes lost in the roar of burning timber. People poured into the streets, dragging carts loaded with furniture, children, and whatever valuables they could carry. The air was alive with embers, glowing like swarms of fireflies. The city, built tightly with wooden beams and tarred roofs, became a furnace. Thomas Fariner and his family escaped through an upstairs window onto the rooftops, barely making it out alive. By midday, the fire had reached the heart of the city. The smell of smoke and scorched flesh clung to everything. Soldiers tried to fight the blaze with buckets of water, but the wind whipped the flames faster than they could act. Sir Thomas Bloodworth, the Lord Mayor of London, stood helplessly watching as the fire spread from house to house. When someone begged him to order the destruction of buildings to create fire breaks, he muttered, "A woman might piss it out." That hesitation doomed the city. The flames raced east toward the warehouses along the Thames, where oil, tar, and brandy were stored. The explosion that followed turned night into day. Walls of fire climbed into the sky, so bright that people in Oxford could see the glow on the horizon. The river became a desperate escape route, filled with boats overloaded with fleeing families. Some wept as they watched their homes vanish in smoke. Others turned to prayer, believing God had sent a punishment for England's sins. By the second day, the inferno reached St. Paul's Cathedral. Built of timber and lead, it had stood for centuries as a symbol of faith and power. The cathedral's roof melted, sending rivers of molten lead through the streets. Flames shot through the stained glass windows, and within hours the great dome collapsed in a thunderous roar. The fire's heat was so intense that stones exploded like gunfire. It was said that the sound could be heard miles away. Samuel Pepys, the naval administrator and diarist, watched the destruction from a boat on the Thames. The poor pigeons, he wrote, were loath to leave their houses, but hovered about the windows till they burned their wings and fell down. He saw men and women on their knees, begging for mercy, their faces lit by the hellish glow. By the third night, the wind finally began to die down. King Charles II took command of the firefighting efforts, ordering soldiers to demolish buildings in the fire's path to halt its spread. Dynamite was used to create gaps, and slowly, painfully, the blaze began to lose its strength. Rain began to fall on the fourth day, hissing as it struck the smouldering ruins. When the fire was finally extinguished, 2/3 of London lay in ashes. Over 13,000 homes were gone. 87 churches, 4 of the city's gates, and nearly every building within the old Roman walls had been destroyed. Astonishingly, official records listed only a handful of deaths, but many more likely perished, their remains lost in the ashes. Londoners returned to a city unrecognizable. The ground still smoked, and the air reeked of charred wood and despair. But amid the ruin, plans for a new city began to take shape. Sir Christopher Wren, an ambitious young architect, stood among the rubble of St. Paul's and imagined a new cathedral rising from the ashes, grander and stronger than before. In time, his vision would become the London we know today. The Great Fire of London did more than destroy, it transformed. It burned away the old medieval maze of streets and gave birth to a new city built of stone with wider roads and safer buildings. Out of devastation came renewal, but those who lived through it never forgot the sound of the flames, the sky that burned for 4 endless nights, or the way the wind carried their past away in smoke. For them, the fire was not just history. It was the night London was reborn.